Have you ever stopped to think about how a boxer's knockout punch and a ballet dancer's graceful leap can be described using the exact same scientific language? Well, today we're going to decode that universal blueprint for all human movement.
I mean, just look at this. From a powerful, explosive strike to a delicate, elegant jump, the variety of what the human body can do is just stunning. But here's the thing. Underneath all that variety, there's a common framework. Every single one of these actions is a complex symphony of bones and muscles that, believe it or not, we can describe with incredible precision.
So how does that happen? How can a physical therapist in one country describe a knee injury to a surgeon halfway across the world and they both know exactly what's going on? Well, they rely on a universal system, a shared blueprint for the human body. Let's dive in and see what that is. Okay, so the very first rule in this universal language is you have to establish a point zero. Every single description of movement, whether it's a simple nod or a complex gymnastics routine, it all starts from one single universally agreed upon position. And this is it. It's called the anatomical position. You can think of it as the body's factory reset button. Every single movement, no matter how wild, is described as a change from this specific stance. It just makes sure that when someone says, move the arm forward, we all know exactly what that means. It's the ultimate starting line. All right, so we've got our starting position. Now let's look at the hardware that actually does all the moving, our skeleton. Now, it might look like just one big connected structure, but it's really made up of two very different systems, and each one has a very specific job to do.
As you can see right here, our skeleton is really split into two main parts. You've got the axial skeleton, that's the part highlighted in blue, which forms the body's central core, kind of like the main chassis of a car. And then you have the appendicular skeleton in orange, which is all the limbs that attach to that core.
And here's where their jobs completely split. The axial skeleton, your core, is all about protection and support. It's like armor, shielding your brain, your spinal cord, and all your vital organs. But the appendicular skeleton, your arms and legs, that's built for action. It's all about movement. That's really the key difference, stability versus mobility.
Okay, so we've got the hardware down. Now, how do we describe the way it moves so that it actually makes sense? Well, we use this absolutely brilliant concept, 3 invisible planes that slice right through the body.
I want you to imagine you're standing in that anatomical position, and 3 giant flat panes of glass intersect right through your center. It might sound weird, but every single human movement happens parallel to one of these 3 planes. Now, this next part is the key relationship you've got to understand. Movement happens within one of those flat panes of glass, while rotation happens around an axis. Think about a door swinging open. The door itself is moving in a flat plane, right? But it's rotating around the axis created by its hinges. Our joints work the exact same way.
And the logic here is actually super simple. The axis of rotation is always perpendicular to the plane of movement. So for movement in the sagittal plane, which is forward and backward, the axis is like an invisible skewer passing through you from side to side. For frontal plane movement, which is side to side, that skewer goes from front to back. See? It's a perfect 90-degree relationship every time.
Okay, now that we have the planes, let's learn the actual command words for motion. We're going to group them by the plane they happen in, and this is where that whole blueprint idea really starts to come to life.
First up, we've got the sagittal plane. This one divides the body into left and right halves. So any movement that's purely forwards or backwards happens in this plane. Go ahead and try it. Just nod your head yes. Yep, that's a sagittal plane movement right there.
The 2 main commands in this plane are flexion and extension. And it's pretty straightforward. Flexion just means you're decreasing the angle of a joint, like when you bend your elbow. Extension is just the opposite. You're increasing the angle and straightening that joint back out.
Think about doing a lunge. When you bend that front knee, that's flexion. When you lift your thigh up towards your chest to take a big step, that's also flexion. Both are perfect examples of movement happening purely in that forward and backward sagittal plane.
Next up is the frontal plane. This one slices the body into a front half and a back half. The best way to picture this is to imagine you're standing between 2 really close walls, one right in front of you and one right behind you. The only way you can move is side to side. The key movements here are abduction and adduction. A really easy way to remember this is that to abduct something means to take it away. So abduction is moving a limb away from the center of your body. And adduction, well, you're adding it back toward the midline.
A cartwheel is pretty much the ultimate frontal plane movement, but you don't have to be that dramatic. Even just doing a jumping jack or raising your legs straight out to the side is a perfect example of abduction and adduction happening in the frontal plane.
And finally, we have the transverse plane. This one divides the body horizontally into a top and a bottom half. This is the plane of rotation. Think about shaking your head no, or the powerful twist in a golfer's swing. That's all happening here.
So in this plane, we use terms like medial rotation, which is turning a limb inward toward the midline, and lateral rotation, which is turning it outward. And for the forearm, we have supination and pronation. Now here's the easiest trick to remember this one. For supination, your palm is facing up, like you're holding a bowl of soup.
This is a fantastic example of the transverse plane in action. Just look at that explosive power. The entire throw is a chain reaction of rotation, taking force from the ground, channeling it up through the core, and then unleashing it through the arm. That is pure transverse plane power.
So, we've got the starting point, we've got the hardware, and we have the software commands. We've built the whole blueprint. But you might be wondering, okay, cool, but why does any of this actually matter outside of a textbook? Why is this blueprint so important?
Well, it's because understanding this language is the key to unlocking human potential. For a coach, it's about seeing the tiny flaw in an athlete's technique. For a trainer, it's about building a workout that hits all three planes of motion, making you stronger and less likely to get hurt. And for a doctor, this is the language they use to figure out exactly what's wrong and how to fix it. This isn't just theory, it's the science of how we move.
So now you have the fundamental tools. You can look at the world of movement with totally new eyes. You can break down a tennis serve, a yoga pose, or even just the simple act of walking up the stairs. The question is, now that you have the blueprint, what movement are you going to analyze first?